We're joined today by Tom Ridge, who was the first Secretary at the US Department for Homeland Security. Before that, he was Governor of Pennsylvania until 2001 and was one of the first Vietnam combat veterans to be elected to Congress in the early 1980s. Since leaving government, he has founded and is president of Ridge Global, which provides a range of businesses and governments with security advice. Secretary Ridge, thank you very much for joining us today. You spoke yesterday on a panel with Senator John McCain, where it's an extremely powerful intervention on Syria and on the prospects for military intervention there. What is your assessment of the public mood in the US towards intervention, and do you believe President Obama will garner enough support in Congress to allow for that action?
I think the context within which Congress has to make the decision is affected by several things. I think, first of all, the country's war-weary with Afghanistan and Iraq. I think to date the President has failed to communicate effectively, and he's normally given great marks for being an effective communicator, but he's failed to demonstrate both the national interest as well as the global interest for intervention, military intervention in Syria. And I think at the end of the day, that compounds the difficulty he has with convincing the Congress. And I think the other challenge that nobody in the White House has responded to is why, under these circumstances, where the clear moral imperative with the use of chemical weapons is much more obvious than it was in Libya, why he has chosen to seek support of Congress when military intervention was something that we did without congressional support over the skies of Benghazi in Libya during the period of chaos there. So it's a mixed message. He talks to the American people on Tuesday evening, but right now I think he's got a very steep climb for many reasons, for many difficulties, some of which are of his own making.
And what would you personally vote if you were still in Congress?
Well, I think, again, if the President's goal is simply to send a warning signal to Assad that's meaningless, it's pointless, it's frivolous, there is no value. I truly believe that while chemical weapons are the focal point, and treaties have to mean something, so I don't understand the moral ambiguity about Assad killing 100,000 people with conventional weapons and suddenly there's this moral outrage about chemical weapons, but at the end of the day there is. So I think the global community, all the signatories, ought to be acting in unison and ought to be concerned about that. But I think that's almost a subplot compared to what I think is a bigger issue there, and it's the Iranian influence in the region. They are supplying arms to Assad. Hezbollah, the terrorist organization that has been so disruptive of the region generally, has bodies in place supporting the Assad regime. So at the end of the day, if there has to be, in my judgment, there has to be substantial degradation of the military capabilities. We have to arm the Syrian Free Army. I think that the Arab community publicly, many of these countries in the region, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and others should join publicly, not rhetorically, with their military capability and join us. And then, frankly, simultaneously, I think we ought to put even more sanctions on the Iranian government, because it's about chemical weapons now, it's about nuclear weapons within a year or two. Absent that, I don't think America's involvement will have much benefit.
I interviewed Senator John McCain this time last year at the Ambrosetti Forum, and he'd in fact just come back from the region and was calling for strong military action at that point. And you said yesterday that, of course, if we'd heeded Senator McCain's calls a year ago or even before that, we would not be in the position we are today. Do you believe that any military intervention at this point is too little, too late?
No, it's the type of military intervention and who provides it. I think serious degradation of the military capabilities done in unison with other countries in the region could have the effect that we need, and that is potentially creating an environment where the Syrian Free Army, oh, by the way, the other caveat is we have to arm them. Again, President Obama has said we're going to arm the rebels, and we failed to do that to date as well. So I think military intervention under the right circumstances can have the outcome we seek, but unless it's done with with the solidarity, with supplying arms to the Free Army, with more sanctions on Iran, and degradation of the capabilities, it will be too little, too late.
Secretary Ridge, thank you very much for speaking to the Financial Times.
Great pleasure to talk with you as well. Thank you very much.